today we are exploring on a new topic which is known as microservices. Basically, if we see that microservices is a service-based application development methodology. In this methodology, big application will be divided into small independent service unit. Microservices is the process of implementing service-oriented architecture by dividing the entire application as a collection of interconnected services where each service will serve only one business need. So basically, if we see that what is then microservice? So in a smaller terms, we can say microservice, a small autonomous service that works together, or we can also say microservice is a software development technique, a variant of the service-oriented architecture structure style that arranges an application as a collection of loosely coupled services. In the microservice architectures, services are fine-grained and the protocols are lightweight. So there is a difference between previously there is a monolithic architecture. Now why we need a microservices architecture. So basic difference is that it is a monolithic in a monolithic architecture. Basically, it acts like a big container where you have the software components of applications are assembled together and tightly coupled. So basically you feel the issues with that adding new service, you need to change the whole architecture. So agility problem was there. uh, Secondly, it's very hard to scalable such a large system. And third force, that if there is a downtime happens, then the whole system is down. So fault tolerance issue was also there, and it is handled by a single framework. That is the most peculiar issues with the monolithic architecture. When we come to microservices architecture, here microservices are self-contained independent deployment modules. The cost of scaling is comparatively less than the monolithic architecture. And the third most is that microservices are independently manageable services. It can enable more and more services as the need arises. It minimizes the impact on existing services. Microservices follows the single responsibility principle. Each have the load balancer, cache, index, and REST API. If we see in with respect to the benefits of the microservices, then single capabilities, independent as a product, it's have a decoupling nature, continuous delivery. If one service fails, the other service is also delivering the content. Componentization and autonomy and scalability are some of the major benefits of microservices. The concept of going micro means in a service oriented architecture, entire software package will be subdivided into small interconnected business unit, and each of these small business units will be communicated to each other by using different protocols to deliver successful business to the client. Now the thing is that microservices architecture, how it differs from SOA. So there are major differences which lie between SOA and microservices. First is that SOA's business unit are dependent on each other, but in microservices, all business units are independent of each other. Size wise, if we take then SOA software size is bigger than the conventional software, and microservices software size is small. Technological task, if we see, then technological stack is less than microservices, but microservices are heterogeneous in nature as exact technologies are used to perform specific tasks. Microservices can be consumed as a conjunction of many technologies basically. So if we see that in monolithic architecture you have the user interface, business layer, and data interfaces, but in microservices, this monolithic architecture, you have all things are in one frame. But in microservices, you say that every services is having its own business unit. So that's why if we say that scalability side, if we see, then SOA is less scalable compared to microservices. Microservices are fully scalable services. So these are the some of the broad points which makes monolithic versus microservices and versus you can say SOA also. So we are now we will be designing one system where our service limits, banking system and payment system and authentication system. So these will be communicating with the Spring Cloud config server, and Spring Cloud config server will be communicating to JIT. So soon we will be making this application to understand that how microservices behave. So join me in the next lecture. We will dive into the coding to make this. Thank you.